Girl who played me ends up getting played by the dude she cheated on me with. Myself, I'm 26, and my ex, F24, let's call her M, had been dating for about 6 months. The first 5 months were great. We started off slow, seeing each other once or twice a week for the first month. I realized I really liked this girl after our 4th date. She came back to my place that night, and magic happened. After that, we started talking every day, and I basically had zero desire to talk to any other women. I deleted my dating apps, cut contact with this other girl I had seen a couple times right before I met M, and felt good that me and M had a good thing going. I include these details because it's important to an incident that happens down the road. For the next 5 months, we went out every weekend, spending almost every whole weekend together. So one night after a night out having food and seeing a comedy show, she's just in an awful mood. There were about 6 comedians performing one after the other. This first dude came up and had that whole bitches ain't shit blah 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 don't ever settle act. It got laughs, but not from me. After his set immediately, my girlfriend leaned over and asked what that was all about. I just shrugged and said he thinks negatively of women. It's a comedy show, so take it with a grain of salt. She just said, I know, but then the whole rest of the show she couldn't find anything funny. Fast forward to the second to last guy, who had a funny story about his cheating ex, but no hatred in his voice. He seemed over it and did not badmouth her at all, especially compared to the first guy. M wanted to leave after this, and I didn't object because I could tell she was not enjoying herself. The car ride home was absolute projecting at its finest. For 15 minutes I was hit with accusations of finding misogyny to be okay, and that I'm probably cheating on her because all men do it. While I was driving, I literally unlocked my phone, telling her to look through my texts. Wasn't enough. I dropped her off and she said we're finished, and that she had never seen this side of me before. I sat there shocked and at a loss for words. She got out and didn't turn back, just walked in her house. Not gonna lie, I cried on the drive home once I was out of her presence. It was that helpless feeling of thinking you did everything right, but realizing it's not gonna work. A month passes by and I sort of am over it. I had reached out once, being ignored, and then the feelings dissipated gradually with no contact between us. Hindsight really is a bitch. Why didn't I see through the BS sooner? Fast forward to a Friday night where I'm just hanging with a couple buddies. I get a call from an unknown number. I ignore it. 5 minutes later, a text. Hey man, I think you and I should talk. You know, M, I saw her texts between you two, and I think you're gonna enjoy this. I could feel this grin coming across my face as I realized what was happening. I knew before he told me. I call him and he basically told me that she was playing both of us. Except this dude had a far worse end of the stick. Come to find out, they've been married for 2 years, and he was home in Brazil taking care of his dying mother for the last 6 months. He reassured me he was not mad at me, and that he knew I was a good guy. I just felt bad for the guy at this point. Here's the best part. He then explains to me that this past weekend they drove, in his registered car, about 6 hours out of town for a concert and weekend getaway. At the concert, her phone died, and he went to use the bathroom. He slipped away, drove back home in his car, and packed all her shit up out of their house. He then drove another 90 minutes to her parents' house, explaining the whole situation, and dropped all her shit off there. He blocked her number after she demanded he pay for her flight home. Let's just say her parents aren't too proud of their daughter's decisions and have reached out to her husband numerous times begging for his forgiveness. What a guy to reach out to me and share his delicious shenanigans. Still friends. Story 2. Years ago, I helped a girl get petty revenge on her cheating ex. Almost a decade ago, in my first year of uni, I had a fob who was amazing in bed, but neither of us wanted anything more serious. Just as I felt like I might consider a boyfriend, I found out that he told me he was spending a weekend at a concert with a friend, when he actually was spending a weekend with another girl in her family home, and went to a gig on one night. We weren't even close to monogamous, but to that point we'd been honest. If he'd told me he would be with her in what I consider to be a very boyfriend-type situation, I would have been more okay. As it was the week before summer break, and I didn't want to be a potential side bitch. I let the relationship fizzle. 4 years later, I hadn't heard from him in a very long time, though was on friendly terms with him if we did run into each other. I got a weird message from a girl telling me to go die. I inquired why I was being told to do this, and after a long back and forward which included many insults from her, I was informed that she was in fact the long-term girlfriend of my old fob. They'd been dating for 5 years at that point. So for you clever people, you'll realize she had been in a committed relationship for a year with him when he began sleeping with me. I also know at the time he was with me he had also slept with at least 3 other girls, either in other FUB situations or as one-night stands. I apologized for the situation, making it clear I had no idea of her existence at the time, and assured her that I had broken things off the moment I thought there was something going on with him and another girl anyway. It turned out she was the girl he'd spent that weekend with, for her birthday, with her entire family. Fast forward a bit, we actually ended up making friends. She had gotten my name because she'd found out about another girl he'd been cheating with currently, and when she demanded to know if there were others, he'd given her a list of at least 11 more who he could remember sleeping with over the years. I was on that list. I still don't know why he did this, or what he thought would make this better for him. But there you are. She mentions to me that she's coming to visit friends in the town we both were in, and to talk things over with him, but she's not sure if she wants to actually get back with him. I jokingly say I'd love to be a fly on the wall, and she insists that's a great idea. So we plan to both be in the pub, like we're old friends, when he comes to meet her. The payoff was amazing. We sat at a table directly in front of the door so he couldn't miss us. When he walked in, he first smiled when he saw her, and then went white with shock when he saw me. She got absolutely wrecked that evening, and went home with a different guy, a friend who knew her, so he was safe, and made sure to make out with him messily a lot in front of her ex. Just before I headed off to my own boyfriend, I made sure to tell him straight and soberly how much of a piece of shit he was to do that to both of us, but mainly to her. I left him alone and homeless. He'd fallen out with him housemates over this as they knew her too, and they'd kicked him out. He was hoping to stay at her hotel, which is why he'd sat through the entire evening of her antics, but she was now with this other guy. Unsure, however, knowing him, he found a bed with some other trash. Told her, unknowingly, was the other woman. Helped main girl confront cheater years after I broke things off with him. His expression will forever be one of the most satisfying memories ever. Edit. A lot of people are querying why I used trash in the final line. I thought I'd try to explain it. As one person guessed, there is a difference, in my eyes in the least, between someone who sleeps around, is open and honest about this behavior, and who is safe in the sense of condoms, etc. Then there's another caliber of person who sleeps around but tells each of their partners that they're monogamous, will manipulate, coerce, or bribe anyone to sleep with them, whether they were in a relationship or not, and who doesn't believe in condoms for whatever reason. I would say the anyone who is in the first category isn't a bad person, but quite normal. Anyone in the second category is trash, and those people were the kind of girls that he would sleep with when I was friends with him, but no longer sleeping with him. When we were together, there was one ongoing point of contention with a girl who was in our friendship group who did all of those things, and he would constantly bitch about her to me. But then I'd find out the next day that he'd gone home with her. You can't tell me that someone's sexual habits are revolting to you, and then have sex with them, and have me not think you're a hypocrite. This was another factor in me breaking things off. I didn't want to catch anything from her via him. After I broke things off with this guy, I was in an open relationship with another guy for about a year until he fell in love with a girl, and I'm still friends with both of them. I didn't, and still don't to a degree, feel that sex was a particularly intimate or emotional thing. It was just an itch to scratch, and I didn't want the emotional connection at the time that a full-time boyfriend would bring. Just before the girlfriend got in touch with me, however, I did meet someone who I finally felt a connection with, and I felt he was worth me giving up everyone else for. We're still in a monogamous relationship, something I never thought I'd be happy with, and are planning a life together. Sorry about the long explanation. TLDR on the edit is: normal person equals honest about sexual activity. Trash equals someone who sleeps around but is not honest about it with any of their partners. After everything, I'm no longer like this, and in a happy place personally.